Welcome back, Visions fans. Ready Player Will here. Today making a video, everything about the Offerwall, my involvement with it, what I know, what I don't know, clarifying some things, and being as transparent as I can now that Gumi has finally taken a step to roll back and resolve the situation. Now, before I get into most of what I have to say, let me just preface this with answering a quick question that a lot of people had is why wait so long to make a video like this? And quite honestly, it was because I really wasn't sure if Gumi was going to make good on their rollback promise. And more than that, I didn't know what they were going to do with suspensions and bans. So my biggest fear, selfishly, was that I didn't want to further become a target in the community by putting out information to kind of rally that frustration, if you will, and do something that might push Gumi more toward the side of suspending or banning. Some of you might think that's the proper course to go. We can talk about that after, and you're certainly well within your rights to feel that way. But speaking frankly, I really wasn't just prepared to take on that heat from the community, considered a weakness of mine. This isn't a full-time gig, and I really wanted Gumi to at least take the step of rolling back the Visiore to alleviate some of the anger that was already in the community that was being directed my way. But now getting into the main thing I wanted to cover, and I want to say that I am deeply, deeply sorry for a variety of things, and I'm going to go through all of them individually here. First and foremost, I am very sorry to those I've disappointed. There's a lot of people in the community that do see me as a fun role model or a great public figure or someone that they like to associate with. And for those of you that I've disappointed by participating in the Offerwall, and yes, I did, I received Visiore from the shops by purchasing bundles that were clearly not the right price of what they should have been. And I'm going to show screenshots and go through the math and everything shortly. But for those that were let down by the ethics of what I did, I am absolutely very sorry for that. There's a lot of people that have said, Will, don't worry about it. Most people in that situation would have done the same thing. And that's fine if most people would have, but I'm not most people. I should hold myself to a higher standard, being who I am in the community, or what at least I've ended up being in the community, and should hold myself to a higher standard because of that. Now, I will talk about my thoughts on the ethics of it and what happened or what I did and the reasons why, but I want to get through this first section. The second group of people I want to particularly apologize to is those who have felt that they needed to pick a side. There's been a lot of public threads in the subreddit, in Discords, in my channels, where my fans or just people in general are getting caught up in some of this anger and might have felt like they need to pick a side or come out and defend me and gotten their hands dirty in all of this. And so I'm sorry for those that have had to do that. There was a content creator that came out and endorsed the idea of coming to channels like mine and those who are known to have taken advantage of the bug, and to publicly shame and in some sorts antagonize and harass them and be the police of the community to deter that kind of behavior. And to that content creator, quite honestly, it's cool. Everything's fine. Objectively speaking, I do think the concept of shame in America in 2022 is something that is not around often enough. There's obviously just a difference between someone coming out and saying, Will, I'm really disappointed in you, you've let me down, and other people coming out saying, I hope you get banned and everything's stolen and you're an awful person and I hope I never see you again. Go rot. Two sides of the spectrum. That being said, that latter opinion, if that's how someone's feeling, I also don't want to invalidate that. On my YouTube channel, I've not deleted any comments. I don't intend to. I haven't banned any people because people want to be heard. They're angry, they're upset, and that takes different forms. Everyone has a different feeling on what they would see as justice. And unless someone is actively, violating a code of conduct on the platform or blatantly sharing some misinformation or lying about something or intentionally trying to deceive, those are a separate thing. I'll try to deal with those as I can. But for those that are just angry and being angry, you have a right to be angry. And I at least want to be somewhat accountable to take on some of that anger, whether it be purely just because you're mad at me or maybe just because you are mad at Gumi, or quite honestly, I've seen a lot of people just frankly being mad at the wealth inequality in the game. A lot of the comments that I've seen of people being mad are really just the difference between Krakens and minnows in terms of spending power and resource management, and Offerwall aside. And so obviously there's a lot to unpack there too that I want people to be enabled to share their thoughts and feelings. So I don't want to stifle that. The third group of people, of those I may have spoken down to or been frustrated with or been short with in public in some of these Discords. This has actually been a really big mental toll on me these past few weeks. I've been kept up for hours at night. I spend most of my day thinking about this. It's been distracting at work. And so, getting pings across various Discords and subreddits on things, it's been difficult to maintain a friendly, happy face or an objective point or an objective stance and not have some element of frustration sometimes in some of the people, what they're saying or doing. And sometimes there are obviously people where don't come at me with that intention. And if I've spoken in a way that you felt disrespected or talked down to, I'm deeply apologetic for that. I know my tone these past couple of weeks has obviously been different just because it's been a different kind of mental toll on me that manifested in different ways. The fourth group of people I'm sorry to is my fellow content creators. Obviously, everyone was going to be mad all the time about the situation, but I do feel like there was kind of a rallying flag to be had, that you had a person as a focal point to concentrate that on. And I do feel that my participation in it kind of elevated in a way to give it an image and a face and a whatever it is that other content creators had to deal with. They would have dealt with it anyway, but the severity of it may not have been as big if there wasn't such a public figure involved in it. Which leads me to the fifth group that I want to apologize to, and it's Gumi. There's obviously been debate who's in the wrong here, whether it's Gumi, they're the ones that own the shop, they should control their prices, those that took advantage of it. Although it might have ethically been wrong, it was there and they bought it and it's not on them, it's on Gumi. And there's been people on the other side of the spectrum saying, no, Gumi can't control 100% of the things. These people need to be responsible for knowingly trying to take advantage of a situation. Wherever you fall in that, I would consider myself part of the problem, not the solution, just by the very nature that I did participate in it. So to Gumi in particular, whether that be Justin and the community leads or the team, I'm sorry for being part of the problem and hopefully now being part of the solution. A lot of people are curious why I did it. I'll be honest, I did not think it was going to grow to this scale at the time that it happened. It was literally within a 20-minute time span. Honestly, I was waiting for potatoes to bake in the oven. That's how quick this all happened. Logged into the game, someone in the Discord server said, hey, look at these Offerwall things, these legit. It took no more than 20 minutes to go spend the $1 on the Sirius XM thing to receive the 200,000 plus viz from that, and then just doing some minor achievements in Raid Shadowbringers or whatever it's called. And at the time, it was just more like disbelief. Like, is this legit? Let me buy this and see if it actually works. It worked. And then it was one of those moments where it's like, all right, well, like if it's wrong, we'll just take it back. At no point did I actually think it was going to evolve into a giant 3-week drama fest, if you will. And I honestly didn't have the foresight to think about the ethics or ramifications at the time. It was really short-sighted of me. And yes, I was putting my needs in that moment before that of the community and the future of the game. I really honestly wasn't thinking that far ahead, and so I apologize for that as well. I've spent an egregious amount of money on this game, and at that moment it was just, hey, this is a way for me to save some more money, and I wasn't considering the ramifications of those actions. I knew it was not legit, but I also didn't really consider it against TOS or an exploit at that time either. I just kind of figured it's a shop thing, they'll roll it back. And so let me talk a little bit about what happened in the aftermath after that. I received my Visiore, bought some stuff in the shop, some packs that I was waiting on. I didn't go crazy with it. And then Gumi came out and said, no, we consider this a violation of terms of service. When they did that, I immediately ceased spending any of it. They asked to stop. I did so. And in the aftermath of that, knowing now that it was considered a breach of terms of service, that they were going to attempt to retrieve it, I then made sure that I restocked my Visiore so that I had enough free Visiore to be fully withdrawn should they decide to take everything out. And I'm going to show you what I received in just a little bit here. But at the time, like I said, it wasn't anything crazy. I didn't download some VPN to change my region and change phones and do something weird. No, there was an offer wall. I went in, clicked accept, did a transaction, done in 20 minutes. It was so pedestrian and how easy it was at the time, I really didn't think of it as a cheat or an exploit or any of the adjectives or nouns people are using to describe it. And I should have known better. I'm sorry about that. The biggest thing I'm sorry for is taking the community for granted. That in that moment, I saw it as an opportunity for me to kind of reward myself, if you will, not thinking about the community. And in these past couple of weeks, seeing how frustrated and upset people are and the interactions that I've had and those that I've hurt, it made me realize just how much I appreciate the community. And quite honestly, that's the reason why I'm a content creator. I do this literally because I know a lot about the game and I know it's a little convoluted at times, and I like being able to share things to help give some context or frame of reference so that people can maximize their game experience. I literally don't do it for myself. I don't do it for money. I do it for the community, and I don't do it for any kind of clout or celebrity status. You can go through 2 years of videos and never once have I ever said like and subscribe, because I really don't need you to. I just need you to get value out of what you're looking for. Being ostracized like I have from the thing that I really do appreciate has actually hurt me a lot. And so I'm going to work to atone for that. If anyone is curious about YouTube revenue, I'd be happy to share what I make here. This is just like a 3-month snapshot, about $220 in total. Last 6 months, I took this screenshot a couple weeks ago. I make on average maybe like $70 a month. So this is not a source of income or celebrity status or clout or anything. I do it for no other reason than I think it's fun to analyze, and I like sharing with the community, and people think I have value in what I have to say. And so I try to offer that. And it's as simple as that. So now let me share some things that people have wanted to see from day one. But like I said, I just wasn't ready to put out there publicly to confirm anything because I didn't know what Gumi's response was going to be. And selfishly, I didn't want to make them overcompensate for punishment that they were considering. And honestly, I didn't want to further invoke the frustration of the community until I knew that Gumi was going to help alleviate the source of that frustration. So the night before they rolled back, this was maybe like 10-15 minutes before, I was upwards of 509,000 Visiore. And like I said, I had in the, let's say, days after the initial acquisition, spent some of it on banners. And so the Offerwall Visiore actually gets put into this bucket considered ordinary Visiore. Now, the way that they expend Viz is that they technically pull from the free first, and then they pull from whatever else is in your ordinary. And it's kind of here in this subtext right below it. The day after the Visiore rollback, this is the morning of, I was down to 105,000 to 992. Now I will confirm they actually did not pull out the entire amount that people received. So Gumi at this moment has said they will continue to pull Visiore in the future. And quite honestly, I believe them that they will do that. I think what they did here initially was just to pull out them as much as they could to prevent people from any kind of further spending that they shouldn't be. And then phase 2 of the rollbacks will essentially be further taking back the Visiore that they shouldn't have in the first place. But at least this way, by taking out a large sum all at once, prevents them from any kind of spending within the next couple weeks. So kind of giving a breakdown of things, from the Offerwall, I received a total of 429,975,000 Visiore. These are the packs individually that I received. This screenshot that you're seeing here is just reformatted from that prior screenshot. This is the night before, pre-reversal, what my total was, what was paid, free and ordinary. And so when I was initially spending on some of those packs and banners, my free Visiore amount had been at 0 at the time. This free Visiore is what you get from when you buy packs. And so what I was spending was pulling from the ordinary, which is why my ordinary is less than what I ended up totally receiving. Once they announced that they were going to retrieve it, that's when I started buying the packs to make sure that I was above my total free amount, which is why I ended up replenishing my free balance here. And so the night before the rollback, I received 429,000. I had a total of 437 free. I was at a surplus at that time, and I thought they were just going to come in and just pull out all of the amount that you received in total. That's not actually what seems to have happened. What I think happened is they took whatever balance was in your ordinary account at that night, and that's what they took out from your total. And they did so by first depleting your free stash and then the remaining balance in the ordinary. So for those that went and dumped immense amount of Visiore from their ordinary balance here, well, if their ordinary balance wasn't as high as what they received, Gumi didn't take the full amount out. They'll probably continue to take it out in the future. So what did they take from me? The net difference between the two totals is the 403,705. That was my ordinary balance the night before. And you can see they took it first from the free, and they took the remaining balance from the ordinary. I technically still owe Gumi 26,000 Visiore. And so when they do these next couple phases of recovering that Visiore, I can confirm or deny exactly what they're doing or how much they're taking, because I know that I still owe them this balance. They left me with free Visiore of 34,150. I'm kind of surprised they did that. Now, there's been a couple other topics in the community that people have been curious about in terms of valid Visiore or not. The first one is that video I put out of the Sage Staff 6. There is a Royal Rank Pack 14. I am Royal Rank 14 in the game, where you can buy recipes for that Sage Staff. And this is a snapshot of a conversation with someone. You see it's dated back on January 9th, so this is pre-Offerwall. I got the amounts here because I bought it so long ago. I don't actually remember what's in it, and I can't check in game. But I confirmed that I bought the pack a while ago, so the Visiore for the Sage Staff was not from the Offerwall. And at that time, I was only 4 recipes short. I'd projected I'd have it in under 30 days, and I did. So there are those that think that the Offerwall overlapped with the Sage Staff, and that was not it at all. There's also some people that saw that I had Perrine maxed on day 1, and I did. But 100% legitimately. I actually pulled her on the $12 ticket when you log in, that's the very first summon. I literally got her on the first pull. Extreme luck. And from that point, I had enough soul shards. This is my balance after using them on her. So I own every UR character in the game. And so every time I summon a duplicate or pull for the select tickets, I obviously replenish the stash. I have a ton of it. The same thing can be said for the Mog Shop medals. This is after using it. You can see I got up to the 9th rank, which is I think 4 iterations up of pulling for the Preen Mind Spheres. I also pulled the 2,000 paid for the 80 Mind Spheres. And then I did buy 3 packs with Visiore that I bought from the replenishment. So in total, I only spent about 8,000 Visiore on maxing Perrine day 1, and there's a valid reason for that. Runic Blades has been exceptionally strong in the top 5, top 2 as of late. They've beat VIP 2 times with their Sorrow and Windwall iteration, and there were those of us that thought that Perrine could be a potential part of countering that. And so in order to expedite the decision whether or not we were going to have the guild try to pull for her, I'm usually one of those people that day 1 maxes, or at least like day 2 or 3 maxes my units, so that I can test them out and decide whether or not there's someone that the guild should invest in. And back when I was doing my part 1 and 2 and 3 reviews, I was doing it back then too. The whole reason for it, my part 1 review was purely based on stats, where we knew that ahead of time. I would pull the character, max them almost immediately, be able to tinker with their abilities, how things work, the order of operations, which would be my part 2. And then after a week of using them in Arena and Guild Wars and here and there, whatever content that was, I would make a part 3 about the optimization. But the whole basis of those 3 parters was that I would max the unit on day 1. So this is not new for me. I do it quite frequently for the channel. And I did it in this instance too, because we were looking to get some data about how good the character was. And so when I say I think there's a part of the frustration that comes from the perceived income inequality of top end of the game and bottom end of the game, you know, my day 1 maxing of Perrine had absolutely nothing to do with the Offerwall whatsoever. Which leads us just to a third point that I want to address publicly here. It's a screenshot that's been circulating forever because I didn't come out with a video and people were kind of trying to grasp at my public statements. And I came out publicly many times in the Discords and said I am pro the rollback and I'm waiting for them to do it. But there's this screenshot that's been taken out of context. It's part of a side conversation I had with one person about me saying that you could max 4 units for 400,000 Viz. And people took this to conclude that Will doesn't think it's that bad or trying to justify why he participated. And what they're doing is completely omitting the build-up to this conversation. This was a conversation I had, and this is a statement made by a person that you can easily get units to 120 with free Viz. And my counter was that paid Viz is still extremely economical. People will spend. So I asked him to back it up. I said, listen, if you think you can easily max a unit 120 with free Viz, please back it up with numbers. And his response was shop refreshes, summoning for more medals with free Viz. Is that not obvious? And so I ran that hypothetical of what it would cost if you paid a unit and used the shop summons only for free Viz. That was literally it. It was not an analysis or a justification on anything. It was a conversation we were having about how far free Viz could get you only by itself. And at the very end of that post, I reiterated the conclusion that I was supposed to be drawing there, that free Viz is not going to necessarily prevent people from spending. They'll still spend, just at a vastly diminished amount, because paid Viz is still one of the most economical ways to max your units. And I conceded. There's no doubt that it's still a massive financial advantage. But saying that people will no longer pay isn't really true. That was the extent of the conversation. Any other conclusion you see people trying to draw from this is just blatantly false, or they're reaching for straws. This was not an analysis I did with a lot of thought. It was a 3-minute calculation with a one-on-one conversation with a person. That was it. Now, I also want to address some other questions that people have had just about its potential reach. A lot of people have thought that some of the top guilds had this plan and goal to everyone exploit and get in on. It's not the case. I can confirm that in VIP, 6 people were able to take advantage of it. You have to remember it was for Android users only in North America. On that nature alone, any of our iPhone users or people that are not located in North America weren't able to participate. So if you see conspiracies about top guilds collaborating to have an entire guild pull for a bunch of free Visiore, that I can confirm that was not the strategy. I'm on the War Council and VIP, the leadership group. You've obviously seen other guilds come out in protest of it in the top 5 and top 10. So by the nature of them doing that, you can see that they're obviously not endorsing the participation. That wasn't part of their strategy. And if you want us to show some kind of proof, I honestly don't know what we could give. Some people have demanded that all 30 members show their pre and post Visiore. Obviously, we're too late. We can't do that anymore. Even then, there's been a lot of doctored images that have floated around. I doubt even that would be enough to make people go, yeah, I believe it now, because we've seen so many images come out of photoshopped Visiore mounts that even if I don't know if there's a burden of proof that would satisfy everyone. If that's not satisfactory for you, I'm sorry, but I can just simply confirm that's not something that occurred. And I think that's everything I wanted to cover. Again, it's really just a heartfelt apology to all those different affected parties. It's a deep regret for what has transpired. It's a re-recognized role of who I am in the community and taking that a little more seriously. As disheartening as it is to see a lot of people come out and actively name call or try to bring me down or try to get me removed from certain positions or exposure, there is still a group of the community that values what I have to say, and just from an analytical perspective. And for those people, I don't want to let my initial motivation and goal for doing this get lost in that. And so I will continue to content create. I will do my best to restore my public image to those that felt that I've betrayed them. And as the third anniversary of the game approaches, with a lot of new things to unpack and digest and how to min-max and strategize and look at units, I want to be a part of being able to clarify some of those questions that people have. That's it for now. I really appreciate the time watching this video. I'll do what I can to still answer some questions in the comments. I intend to be 100% transparent at this point now that Gumi has considered the matter, 80% resolved, 90% resolved. And really just looking forward to being able to enjoy this game with all of you again. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you all soon.